For months, Canada remained unusually quiet, while Washington, NATO partners, and global defense analysts speculated about its future fighter jet strategy. Behind closed doors, pressure was mounting. The United States expected loyalty. NATO expected alignment. But Canada was calculating something far bigger. When Ottawa finally broke its silence with a decisive move involving Sweden's Gripen, the shockwaves traveled far beyond North America. This was not just another procurement discussion, it was a signal, a message that Canada was no longer willing to be boxed into a single defense ecosystem dominated by Washington. The Gripen decision, whether partial or strategic, challenged decades of assumptions about Canada's role within NATO's air power structure. And that's exactly why Washington was caught off guard. Gripen is not just a fighter jet. It represents a philosophy that directly clashes with American defense doctrine. Designed for dispersed operations, rapid turnaround, and independence from massive logistical chains, the Gripen is built for nations that want flexibility, sovereignty, and control. For Canada, a country with vast territory, Arctic responsibilities, and limited forward bases, this suddenly made uncomfortable sense. Washington's concern wasn't about performance. The F-35 remains unmatched in stealth and sensor fusion. The concern was influence. Gripen does not rely on US-controlled software updates, mission data files, or export permissions to the same degree. That alone raised alarms inside the Pentagon. If Canada could operate a top-tier fighter without constant US oversight, what precedent would that set for other allies? NATO officials tried to downplay the moment, calling it routine diversification. But insiders knew better. Canada was testing boundaries. Gripen's interoperability with NATO systems is proven, yet it doesn't lock the operator into American dependency. That subtle difference is what made this move explosive. More importantly, Canada's silence before the announcement was deliberate. Ottawa allowed Washington to assume compliance, only to reveal a move that reshaped the conversation overnight. This wasn't defiance, it was leverage. Canada was reminding NATO that partnership does not mean submission. As news spread, analysts began asking the same question. If Canada can openly consider Gripen, who's next? Smaller NATO nations, Arctic-focused allies? Countries tired of political strings attached to their air forces? In that moment, Canada didn't just make a procurement move. It cracked the illusion of absolute US dominance within NATO's fighter ecosystem. The real shock wasn't the Gripen itself, it was the timing. Global tensions were high. NATO unity was being emphasized in every press conference. And yet Canada chose this exact moment to signal strategic independence. Washington interpreted this as more than coincidence. It was a calculated move made when leverage mattered most. Behind the scenes, Canadian defense planners were frustrated. Cost overruns, maintenance complexities, and long-term sovereignty concerns had become impossible to ignore. Gripen offered something rare, a modern fighter with predictable costs, fast maintenance cycles, and freedom to integrate national systems without foreign approval. For a country responsible for defending some of the world's most extreme airspace, reliability mattered more than prestige. The Arctic factor played a massive role. Gripen was designed to operate from short, icy runways, highways, and dispersed locations. It requires fewer ground crew, less infrastructure, and faster turnaround times. In contrast, heavy stealth platforms demand specialized facilities that are difficult to maintain in northern conditions. Canada wasn't just choosing a jet. It was choosing a doctrine tailored to its geography. Washington's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. Quiet diplomatic pressure followed. NATO insiders began emphasizing standardization and shared platforms. Translation: stay in line, but Canada didn't back down. The Gripen move gave Ottawa bargaining power it hadn't possessed in years. What made NATO nervous was not capability, it was control. Gripen allows operators to modify software, integrate indigenous weapons, and operate independently during crises. In a future conflict where political approval could be delayed or denied, that autonomy becomes priceless. Canada was signaling that it wanted full operational freedom, even within alliances. European defense circles quietly welcomed the move. Sweden's aerospace industry saw it as validation. France and Germany saw opportunity. If Canada could challenge the unspoken rule of American fighter dominance, then NATO's internal balance might finally shift toward true multipolar cooperation. This wasn't a rejection of NATO. It was a reminder of its original promise: collective defense among equals. Canada's Gripen move forced an uncomfortable question into the open. Is NATO an alliance or a hierarchy? And for Washington, that question was far more dangerous than any fighter jet. As the dust settled, one reality became clear. Canada had changed the conversation permanently. Whether Gripen becomes the backbone of its fleet or a strategic bargaining chip, the message has already been delivered. Ottawa proved that even close allies can redraw boundaries when national interests demand it. For Washington, this was a warning shot. The era of unquestioned defense alignment is fading. Allies are now weighing cost, sovereignty, and operational freedom just as heavily as raw capability. The Gripen represents that shift perfectly. Not the most stealthy, not the most expensive, but arguably the most politically flexible fighter in NATO's orbit. NATO leadership now faces a dilemma: push too hard against Canada and risk exposing internal fractures. Accept the move and risk encouraging others to explore non-US platforms. Either way, the monopoly is gone. The psychological impact alone may be more significant than any procurement contract. Canada's silence before the announcement now looks strategic in hindsight. It allowed expectations to form and then shattered them. That's how leverage is created. Not with loud statements, but with unexpected action. In modern geopolitics, silence followed by surprise is often more powerful than open confrontation. The Gripen move also reshapes Canada's global image. No longer just a quiet partner, Ottawa is emerging as a strategic thinker willing to challenge norms without breaking alliances. That balance is difficult and dangerous, but potentially transformative. One thing is certain: Washington and NATO will remember this moment. Because when Canada broke its silence, it didn't just speak, it redefined its position. And in doing so, it proved that even within the world's most powerful military alliance, choices still matter. If this trend continues, the future of NATO air power may not be decided by a single capital anymore. It may be shaped by nations like Canada, quietly, carefully, and on their own terms. What makes Canada's Gripen move even more disruptive is how quietly it rewrites future alliance behavior. This was not a loud rejection of American systems, nor an emotional political statement. It was a rational, calculated signal sent through procurement, the most powerful language in defense politics. And Washington understood that immediately. For decades, fighter jet choices have acted as loyalty tests inside NATO. Selecting an American platform often meant guaranteed political backing, intelligence access, and strategic favor. Canada's willingness to step outside that pattern challenges the idea that security must come with dependency. Gripen offers NATO compatibility without surrendering national command authority. And that balance is what makes it dangerous to established power structures. Defense analysts are now revisiting assumptions about fifth-generation dominance. Stealth alone does not win wars if availability, cost, and sustainability collapse under pressure. Gripen's high sortie rate, rapid repair capability, and ability to operate under austere conditions make it a wartime asset, not just a peacetime deterrent. Canada's planners clearly prioritized what works on day 30 of a conflict, not just day 1. This move also carries industrial consequences. Canadian firms stand to gain deeper access to technology transfer, local maintenance authority, and long-term aerospace independence. That threatens the traditional model where allies remain permanent customers rather than true partners. Washington has always protected its defense industrial base, and Canada's decision quietly tests those limits. NATO's eastern members are watching closely. Countries facing immediate threats understand the value of autonomy. If Canada, one of America's closest allies, can assert this level of independence without consequences, others may follow. That possibility alone explains why this decision triggered concern far beyond Ottawa. Ultimately, Canada's Gripen move is not about choosing Sweden over the United States. It's about reclaiming strategic choice. It proves that even within powerful alliances, sovereignty still matters. Canada didn't break NATO unity. It exposed how fragile, unquestioned alignment had become. And that is why Washington was shocked. Not because of the aircraft, but because of the example. In a world where alliances are under strain, Canada just showed that silence, followed by decisive action, can shift the balance without firing a single shot. When Canada finally broke its silence, the reaction inside Washington was immediate and uneasy. This was not supposed to happen. For decades, Canada had been one of the most predictable defense partners in the Western Alliance. Quiet, aligned, and rarely disruptive. But the Gripen move changed that image overnight, turning a routine procurement discussion into a geopolitical signal. At its core, This decision exposed a growing frustration shared by many U.S. allies. Modern wars are not fought only with advanced technology, but with endurance, flexibility, and control. Canada's defense planners understood that the future battlefield would punish over-centralized systems and reward nations that could operate independently when supply chains, politics, or permissions break down. Gripen fits that reality perfectly. It is designed to fight while isolated, to launch from damaged or improvised runways, and to remain operational with minimal support. For Canada's vast territory and Arctic obligations, that matters more than marketing claims or prestige platforms. The jet's ability to be maintained by small crews, refueled rapidly, and returned to combat within minutes makes it a wartime asset, not just a showpiece. Washington's discomfort was never about Canada choosing a Swedish aircraft. It was about what that choice represents. Gripen does not lock operators into permanent reliance on US-controlled mission data, software updates, or political approval cycles. That autonomy weakens a form of influence the United States has quietly maintained for years through defense exports. Inside NATO, the move reopened an uncomfortable debate. Is alliance strength measured by identical equipment, or by the ability of members to contribute effectively under pressure? Canada's answer was clear. Interoperability matters, but sovereignty matters more. Gripen offers both, and that balance challenges the traditional hierarchy within the alliance. There is also a deeper strategic message hidden in this decision. Canada is preparing for a world where crises may unfold faster than diplomatic consensus. In such scenarios, waiting for clearance or external support could mean losing control of airspace within hours. Gripen's independence gives Canada the option to act decisively while still remaining a NATO partner. European defense industries quietly welcomed the signal. It suggested that NATO's future might be more balanced than previously assumed. If major allies diversify platforms, the alliance becomes harder to pressure, harder to control, and ultimately more resilient. That resilience, however, comes at the cost of American dominance, and that is what truly shocked Washington. Canada did not issue threats. It did not challenge NATO publicly. It simply made a choice that forced everyone to reassess assumptions. In modern geopolitics, that is often the most powerful move of all. By choosing Gripen, Canada reminded the world that alliances are strongest when members are confident, capable, and free to decide their own path. And that is why this decision will be remembered, not as a procurement story, but as the moment Canada quietly redefined its strategic identity and proved that even the closest allies can still surprise the world.